In this video, we will be going over the cost of living in Portland, Oregon in 2022, and also more details in the sense of median income, also kind of what transportation, housing, and all those kind of costs are, so that way you have a better idea of what it will be when you move to Portland. My name is William Singh. I'm a local real estate agent in the Portland, Oregon area. If you are looking to move here, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I hope this is great content for you to understand a little bit more about how much it costs in Portland. And let's dive right into it. So the average income for Portland is going to be about $96,000. In terms of the median, we're looking around 71 grand a year, and is something where that's kind of the baseline. As for the affordability on a national average, when it comes to Portland, we are about 29% higher than the national average for cost of living. Now, when you're looking at the West Coast cities, for example, Seattle, we're about 13.2% cheaper in terms of cost of living compared to Seattle, and about 28.4% cheaper than San Francisco. So if you're looking on the West Coast and you're looking for being in a metropolitan city, Portland is usually the most affordable place on the West Coast. So I am now going to be breaking down a lot more costs in terms of housing. This is going to be both for renting and for buying homes. And again, there's going to be different costs when you are looking at very specific areas within the Portland area or neighborhoods. So just something where if you want to dive more into that, feel free to reach out to me. I'll make sure to have my contact information below. Now, the renting side of things, the average rent is about $1,680 for a 755 square foot place. Now, if we're looking at bedrooms, and this is really where you're going to be seeing a lot more of a more accurate price, is for a one bedroom, you're seeing about $1,495. And then for a two bedroom, we're seeing about $1,795. And then three bedroom, this is really where a lot of families are going towards, and then also having like a secondary office or an office space at home, is going to be about $2,449. Now, the four bedroom is going to be just shy of $3,000 a month for $2,995. So with this in mind, note that when you are dealing more with single family homes or areas where you're going to have a lot more square footage, this might vary a little bit more. This is just an average based off of the bedrooms. And when you're dealing with single family homes, those might be anywhere between 10 to 20% more expensive in terms of rent. So note that we have about 47% of our population as renters. Another thing to note for this is that we do have a rental cap in terms of how much the rent can increase from year to year. So it's currently about at 7% plus the consumer price index. And the consumer price index will change every year, and that's something that can kind of be updated. But know that once you kind of get into a lease, that's really the max that can be increased or decreased. But when you move to the next place, that's something where they can reset the rent amount essentially. So let's dive into if you are looking to buy a home in Portland. The median home price is $595,000. So that's kind of where you're going to find the middle of the road per se. And this, for example, for a three bedroom, two bath, 1,674 square feet is going to be about $525. So that just kind of gives you a better idea of what you're kind of getting. And then for appreciation, as of lately, we have been seeing anywhere between 12 to 18% year over year appreciation, which is kind of crazy. If you're looking at a 30 to 50 year time frame, you're going to be seeing closer to maybe 3 to 5% of a appreciation rate. Now, with this, we're also about 53% of the population are owners. So part of buying a home is also understanding what the property taxes are. When it comes to property taxes, you're really usually dealing with three major counties. The first major county is going to be Multnomah County. They typically have the highest taxes and is something where it usually encompasses part of the west side of the river that's closest to the river, and then starts really expanding out towards Gresham area. So that typically is what the Multnomah County covers. And then we're going to go to the second county, which is Washington County. This is something where it starts on the west side of the river and then expands out west. And this is something that has the second highest taxes. And then we're going to look at Clackamas County, which is kind of covers Westland and then Oregon City. And these typically have the lowest property taxes. Now that we've talked about housing, which is usually the biggest expense when it comes to living in an area, we'll talk about utilities. Now, for utilities, you're going to have PGE and then also Northwest Natural. PGE is a little bit more towards the electric side of things, and then Northwest Natural has a lot of the natural gas covered. So just something to kind of keep in mind. And in terms of the cost, you can expect for electricity around $75 to $150 per month, depending on what season it is and how heavily you use the electricity. For example, in the winter months, you're going to have a lot more heaters kind of going on. And then in the summer months, you might have an AC unit going on. So just things to kind of keep in mind when you are using energy. Another thing to note is for trash bills. Now, trash bills are, if you're living in a home, are billed every other month. So one of those things where it is usually around $30 per month. So you'll be paying every other month about $60. And then when it comes to water and sewer, this is something that does change from time to time and depending on where you're at, and can be anywhere between $40 to $100 a month, and sometimes more depending on whether or not you are in a specific area, and just things that you can always research. And one thing I actually do want to note is the fact that if you call any of these companies, you can really get if you, let's say, pick a specific address or unit, that is something you can actually get an average for that zip code or that particular building or place, and have a better idea of what that electric bill or whatever that bill might be. So another tip for you. So another big expense is going to be transportation. And if you're looking at public transit, you're looking at TriMet. And TriMet is going to run about $100 per month for using the bus system or train system. So with that, you can usually do also a $250 per trip cost. And again, if you're going to be using public transit quite a bit, I would recommend using the monthly subscription for that. And then in terms of gas, right now it is around $4.50 to $4.90 for a gallon of gas. Now, obviously that might go down or up depending on what happens this year, but just something to kind of keep in mind that gas prices are definitely on the up and up. Another big expense is going to be kind of food or groceries. So when it comes to food, typically a mid-tier restaurant is going to cost about $70 for a party of two. So depending on what you get and things of that nature, that's just something where you can make that a little bit cheaper if you need to. But that's kind of like a average for what it's going to cost. And then for kind of coffee or things of that nature, it is something where you're looking at maybe $3 for a cup of Joe, nothing really fancy with it, up to maybe $5 or $7 if you're getting real fancy with your coffee or beverage of choice. And then when it comes to beer, it's actually around $6 to $7. We also have a lot of specialty beers, so that can sometimes go up and down depending on what you're looking at, but around $6 or $7 for beer. And then for the groceries, which is probably a bigger bill, the average is about $372 a month. So again, that can vary depending on whether or not you're going to market of choice versus Winco. That's kind of up to you. So with all of that, that is the cost of living or major expenses within Portland. If you found any of this content helpful, it would be wonderful if you could like or subscribe. If you have any questions about moving to Portland or more questions about Portland in general, I'd love to answer them. I'll make sure to leave my contact information below. And thank you so much for watching.